Hello, everybody, and welcome to the very first episode of the Limitless TCG podcast, a podcast that has been, as usual, by Limitless standards, delayed by technical difficulties. And we apologise that we did try to live stream this, we honestly did, but it will instead be directly up to YouTube. I am Connor Hayward, your regular host and the owner of probably the worst internet in Germany, and joining me is second place, Robin Schultz.
Hi.
And fourth place, because he doesn't actually live in Germany, but he finished in top 4 of Worlds this year, our special guest, Mr. Todd Recklev.
Heyo.
So how are you both, joining us on this new adventure on the Limitless podcast?
Good. Should be fun.
Yeah, gonna be fun.
Good. So, quick shout out to supporters over on Patreon. It's partly because of those guys that we thought maybe we should do some more content as opposed to just our tournament streams. And that has led to this podcast this seems like a fun way of giving everyone a little bit more of what Limitless do, the competitive content. But also, was also a little bit of the reason why we thought we could do the behind the scenes testing at Worlds, because we got the new equipment. We thought, let's test it. And we got to see the behind the scenes, or a small tournament that replicated some of the behind the scenes of the testing process that Robin and Tord, as well as the rest of the members of Limitless, went through to prepare for a big tournament. And that was a lot of fun to see. I got to be there firsthand. How do you guys approach testing? Not just for Worlds, but also it was a post-rotation. Like, when did you guys start testing? And what are your first steps?
Well, first steps is probably to be kind of biased about what archetype we like, and then trying to discuss matchups with others and see if we can convince them that the archetype we like is a good one. And if we can, we start testing the deck more, and if we can't, then we'll probably start trying some other deck that someone else, and just go from there, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the first step was honestly just waiting. Like, we started testing, I think, kind of late, like around late July. And by then there was already a lot of content online, and like there was kind of a predefined meta of decks people like. And yeah, it was almost like the same as now. Like, some decks emerged from Worlds that weren't really known, but mostly, like most of the good decks, like just had to basically wait for others to do the work, more or less. And yeah, then once we started our testing process, we built some of the decks that people believe were good, and then we built some of our own decks. Some of them turned out good, others were like discarded pretty early. But yeah.
Did either of you have a pet deck that got thrown out almost immediately?
Did we? Not sure. I know Robin wanted to make a control deck, but didn't really do it for. There was a week left, and by then it was kind of late to start going over all the matchups and really finessing the deck. But like, it had the same lock combo as the one the Americans played. And the Pichotto control deck was like basically the same lock cards, I think, to try to like just pull off this big combo after having set it up for it the whole game, and then just locking down the opponent to rest and winning that way.
It was reset stamp to 2.
So it was like reset stamp, Mars, Articuno, power plant, just the whole shebang, and then pick axe to control their top deck as well. So they sit there with no energy and no hand, and the top deck is bad.
Yeah, I tried to make it work, but like didn't think of some stuff. Like, for example, I believed that the deck would just lose against Naganadel, but yeah, the DDG guys just had the strategy of double Articuno and then attacking into it, and just like, I thought Quad Naganadel was a problem, but it actually isn't, and like haven't considered all the things So yeah, that was kind of a pet deck that I wanted to make work, but didn't put in enough effort to really break all the matchups. So I think most of us really liked the Fire Ninetales deck just from the beginning when we arrived, and it was the main focus of testing for most of the 2 weeks.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think personally, I played that deck almost exclusively every day for the weeks I was there in Germany, and yeah, really felt like I knew all the matchups in the end, at least.
Well, every time I glanced over at you, looking over a deck, it was always that one. And even if it wasn't a game, it was like debating. Oh, I really like the Heatran, right?
Yeah.
It was like, oh, I really like the Heatran, but, and then a long conversation over why you might want to include another card. But no,
Yeah, I
from my
think
side, it was interesting to see it because like my testing process tends to be what cards, well, what decks seem good, and then when it goes one of two ways of do I want to try and play it, or do I just accept the fact that probably not going to be able to play it well enough? Can I play the counter well enough? But this format doesn't really work with that because it's kind of hard to say that either a deck can, like the top two decks going into the tournament. I think everyone had their eye on were the Reshizards and the Pikaroms, and it's hard to say you can counter both of those because they're both just so aggressive.
we didn't really try to build a counter. We just tried to build the strongest deck, like a deck that just like beats other decks by not countering, but just by being stronger than them. And I think the Charizard deck was pretty good at that. And it also had the advantage that people didn't really expect it. For some reason, everyone was like, "Yeah, Charizard is only a green stick now," but like Abilities Art was always there, and it's like really no reason why it would not be good still.
At least, yeah. At least I was really looking for a deck that didn't need to tech out a lot to have a chance to beat every matchup. So really wanted to just find a deck that I didn't need like Tapu Fini, Hoopa, like all these single card techs for all the different matchups, like the Stadium that turns off Shedinia, just so many cards you need for different matchups normally, and just want to find a deck that could naturally handle most things anyway. And that was actually the most reasonable choice for that.
Yeah, I actually, so I did a bit of worlds testing, even though I wasn't going to be there, and most of that was I landed on Gardevoir Sylveon because it was the deck that I felt could sort of set up regardless. That didn't turn out to be true. And could, again, it was one of those decks that didn't have to tech too much. It kind of just got in, like it was just big enough and annoying enough that it could still steal games, especially with its GX attack.
Like, fun fact: we didn't really consider Gardevoir Sylveon like at all. It was kind of surprising it did that well at Worlds, but yeah, it's actually much better than we thought.
That was, I think there was no surprises for us at all. Every deck and basically every list and version of every deck we faced as well, except the Gardevoir deck, I think. That was kind of overlooked, but figuring out how it worked wasn't too hard. It was basically like same concept as what Charizard wanted to do. Empty your hand and power plant you to come back late game and just spam these big tag teams over and over. And yeah, heal up and just be oppressive and aggressive.
Well, it was also it does they both have very narrow game plans, but I think the problem was with the Gardevoir list that we saw at Worlds is they were very narrow, and if they couldn't hit part of their game plan quickly, they kind of got stuck. Whereas at least with the others, you have Welder. Like they don't have Welder, And I think that
Like that-
was a
The
mistake.
attacking options of that deck is kind of limited because most times you're just hitting 150, and that's great if it like set up for a 2-shot on attack team, or it one shots like a single prizer and you can like heal out the single prizers. But if you're facing something that can just one shot you twice, then you're in for a lot of trouble.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So-
I think luckily our deck just happened to have a good matchup against it. Like, we
Yes.
didn't really think about the matchup, but it just happened to be like this, which was pretty nice.
Yeah, that was actually great with that deck because it naturally countered a lot of random stuff, which was not our intention. The American Lock deck, for example, the matchup wasn't as bad as it would have been if we played something else, for example, and not respecting it as well. Because like we had the Ninetales option and a ton of energies and Victini, so they had no way of draining all our energies, and we can be really aggressive and snipe their setup to try to prevent them from building up their big combo turn as well. So that matchup was definitely overcomable. And yeah, also like just having these non-GX like single pricers that can do so much damage are really great overall as well.
Well, the Victini kind of single-handedly can steal a game against a tag team deck, right? Like,
Oh yeah, for sure.
it comes in,
Yeah.
it recovers all your energy, and just takes something out, and then you're fine again.
Yeah, the Victini was basically the main point of the deck, at least for me. It's like it started off as kind of a meme. Like we were playing it with Crystal for the first week or so, and then I don't remember who. Someone was like, yeah, "Let's just cut the crystals for my energy," because like someone like wanted to play Victini, but like for example, Pedro and me didn't really like the Victini without the energy.
Oh, yeah, I wanted to play Victina just for some extra value against Malamar because I didn't feel like the 12 plus 4 crystal was enough energy somehow. So I just wanted that in addition and to like knock out Blacephalon. Then you were like, oh, let's just get the crystals and then the more energy so this thing can actually one shot attack. I was
Yeah,
like, no, let's not do that.
I think someone mentioned it. Like I don't. But next morning I was like, I mean, it was just a joke, but let's just do it. Then I just like took my deck, changed like 6 cards or so, like put in 19 energy and Victini, and was like, okay, let's play. And it felt pretty good. Like it took a few days to convince everyone, but like after a while, everyone was like, yeah, I'm not playing crystals anymore. Why would you ever play crystals in my deck? It's so bad.
And every time after, when we opened like Volder Double Crystal and no fire, we were like, you know what, this card is gone. And I think I had like 2 or 3 games in a row where I started like using Volder and Shinkles manually to my Pokemon and be like, this is a fire energy, I promise. Let's play. So
Yeah,
the
it's one of
Victini
those cards that just comes out of nowhere, right? Like, it's one of those ones where I'm pretty sure it's in my bulk pile. It's not even in my binder until it pops up in this list. It's a deck. It's very niche for you want to have a lot of ways of discarding your fire energy to get any value out of it, and this deck has enough that you can get there.
Yeah, I think the deck was really strong with just the Ninetales Charizard combo basically, but the Victini gave it like another really almost unfair part where like you could have nothing on board and you could still out of nothing just win a KO attack team.
yes, that threat was really big. So you could just all in a Charizard in the early game, and even if the Charizard goes down, you still have like a turn or two to just get your Victini up and one shot another tag team. Especially the Mewtwo matchup got a lot better because of the Victini.
Mm-hmm.
And also,
Well, yeah,
like
it was
Pika's,
an extra surprise.
both these matchups, you just try to knock out 2 big tag teams. You're just 6 energy Charizard one, you get knocked out. That's already 6 energies alone, and then you try to discard the rest.
Well, because the other card that the card that I thought was honestly one of the most insanely strong cards from the last set was Giant Hearth. Of whoever at Pokemon
that
went,
card is just unfair.
Whoever went, hey, this forest, this Viridian Forest, isn't seeing enough play. Let's make a better one for one of the already strongest archetypes in the game. is nuts. That's insane.
I don't think Fire really deserved to get this card as well, but they did, so it was another strong argument for playing Fire at this tournament.
Sure, it was clearly one of those cards that like could easily be game defining and like format defining, right? Because it
does a
Viridian
it does a
already was
like crazy.
like Viridian was already kind of defining anyway because loads of decks were playing it because they had extra access to their energy there and discards. Malamar abuses it, and suddenly you go, well, there's a better one. There's no reason not to play a deck that can do this.
There were some reasons, but yeah, half is just insane. Should be a Prism Star, honestly, but
yeah,
I can definitely see it being a Prism Star.
But
yeah,
Fire decks need a lot more energy than normal decks, so I can understand it being printed.
Like at some point, we wanted to cut Heat Factory for another stadium, which we already had 3 of, and Heat Factory is a Prism Stadium, so
in the Mewtwo deck we did.
Actually, true.
Yep. So that was that was the thought process behind like how you arrive on the deck, right? But then, Robin, after all that testing and everyone basically, right, it seems like the consensus being this is the deck. You actually took a Mewtwo Mew tag team deck into the tournament instead.
Yeah, I think we honestly tested the deck too much. First week it was all going great. Like we were like, oh, this deck is so busted, best deck ever. Then second week, like people suddenly started to not draw very well last turn 1, and like the closer worlds got, the more we were like panicking and oh my god, is this deck actually just a stupid hero deck? Is it not good? Like if we with Welder, we are done, and so many matchups, and yeah, I mean most, like everyone except me stuck with the deck, but mostly because of not having another option, because of just focusing on the one deck too much, maybe.
Yeah,
So
I was
there was a
also
consideration
kind of
about
freaking out the day before.
I still think the deck is really good and could have played it, but yeah, it has its flaws, which is like the one flaw is just so it's so Welder reliant, and like towards the end, most of us were like, "Oh my god, this deck needs for Poke. Why are we not playing? Like, why are we not playing Poke Gear?" Like, most of the time it worked out, but maybe hit some like too many unlucky games in a row. That like one day I was testing and like bricking every second game. It felt like so.
So about it's Malamar.
I don't know. I just
True.
Didn't want to play it anymore. And for me, the end of our testing, and it seemed really promising. Most of us liked Mewtwo, and the main problem was just that we didn't test it much. And so I thought, for example, he wanted to, was almost switched to Mewtwo, but was like just too scared because of not having tested it. I was kind of I thinking like I don't care. I think the deck sounds good. It should be. Also, all the people that played the Charizard deck in day 1 from our crew didn't make it through. So yes. That
they all started really good though. It was like after
I like how you're
rounds,
not naming.
Everyone had both their opponents, so it was like 12-0 the first few games with the deck.
That was very carefully not calling anyone out. I like that. That's but very.
Everything just went downhill on day 1, and that was just. And Philip played the deck, and after day 1, he was saying deck was bad. If you don't hit Welder, you lose, which was already what we were worried about towards the end. And
he still went 5-1-2 though. Like he was He was 1 point short. I was really close.
Yeah.
Yep. So,
But I just didn't really feel like playing the deck, and decided to go with a riskier pick of untested Mewtwo deck, which turned out we were right that it was a good deck. It won in the end, and I also did well, so I've paid off.
Yeah, true.
so in that case, do you want to take us through how your day 2 went? I say your day 2. It was your day 1, but you skipped day 1. So,
Yeah.
do you want to take us through how that went?
Sure, I can. Let me check.
Oh, so do you guys take notes of like how your tournament runs go?
Yeah, I usually do. Oh yeah, round 1 I played on stream.
You did indeed.
Yeah, against Jimmy with his control deck. It's actually pretty funny. Like when I saw the Pidgey, immediately basically knew what was coming, which I just thought it was funny. I honestly expected those guys to some reset stamp chip thing, and they actually did. Was internally I was like, yes, I was right. The deck can work.
All according to plan. Let's go.
Well, I remember watching. I was tuned in to watch the game as you were on stream. I was like, "Oh, hype! This is gonna be great!" And then they flipped over a Pidgey, and there was a genuine moment of going, "Huh?" Because I completely forgot Pidgeotto was a card. I completely forgot. And then he started doing stuff. I was like, "I'm gonna need to build this on PTCGO right now. I'm gonna lock people out of games. It's gonna be fun." But...
So my plan for the matchup was to first draw 3 prizes and then finish with Espeon Deoxys so that I can't get stamped to less than 3, but didn't really work out in the first game. I couldn't put the Espeon Deoxys in the discard pile immediately because they played Girafarik. So yeah, I had to leave Espeon Deoxys in the deck. And then I think he stamped me at 3 and then already got the lock and I didn't draw out of it. So I lost the first game. And second game, he started double Pidgey, nothing else. I donked him with Espeon Deoxys turn 2. And game 3, in game 3, I knew like time was probably running. Like didn't have a lot of time left, so just went aggressive with the Espeon Deoxys and killed 3 of his Pidgeottos relatively early before he could do any locking stuff. And then he stumbled a lot without bows, and I was able to draw my last 2 prizes.
The triple patriotic so beautiful. It felt so nice to see.
Honestly, so I watched that game with my girlfriend, and my reaction to the Espeon GX attack. She's not a Pokemon fan, and she was so confused. It was just going, oh my, he's got it all, and just 3 Pidgeot was just gone. I was like, oh wow, it was insane.
Espeon is just one of the best parts about this deck. Such a great GX attack.
True.
I mean, 20 damage counters is a lot of damage counters. It was insane. So who did you have round 2?
Then round 2 I played against Blaine, who made top 4 in the end with Greensat. It was a matchup I was kind of confident in. Like you just the Latios and they can't do much. Like first game I priced Latios, but it was still going great. I just used Solgaleo and Dragonite and it was also fine. But like I wasted my Marshadow, which was really, really stupid. And then he just stamp planted me to 1, and I lost because of it.
Oh,
so that was a bit tilting. But yeah, and then game 2 was really awkward as well, I think. It was like the typical game where you, like game 1, you just throw away a game, and then game 2, you just brick, basically.
No.
Like the classic. But I think, I don't remember it in detail anymore. I just know in the end it came down to I had a Charizard with a lot of damage, and that GX'd his Charizard. with my Charizard, which is like usually you don't ever use Charizard itself, but it just kind of happened like this. And he just needed to top deck an energy on out-tune energy to KO me with a Canyon, but he didn't get it. So like somehow won that game, and game 3 was just timeout like after a turn or two. I think I had like in the third game I actually had the turn 1 Latios GX attack and to turn 2 Latios attack, but like so that game was going good, but like no way we could finish it. It was just yeah, 5 minutes or so. And next round I played against Azul. So the second, like 2 out of 3 rounds at that point, I played against Pidgeotto control. So,
it was a sign.
We only played one game. It was actually really close. I think it came down to me. Actually, I didn't get any good attackers early game, so I literally had just Mewtwo and SP on Deoxys. Like I didn't get Soyo or Latios, so I couldn't attack, and it was like, okay, I just KO both his Pidgeys with SP on Deoxys without the full effect, but he's still set up like next turn he just did another elm or something, I don't remember, but it didn't do as much as I hoped, and then I didn't have the GX attack option for the late game left. So it was really close in the end. I thinned my deck like to basically like 2 cards, and so reset stem couldn't hurt me, but then yeah, I think I had Latios attacking, and he had an Articuno with damage, and everything else I could KO. Like I thought I had the game, but then he just put down the second Articuno and put it active, and I couldn't KO it with Latios. And then I decked out because of it. Like I literally like 1 card left in deck, and swing with 120 into his second Articuno. So yeah, I was only playing a single Articuno in my control deck, and then for some reason was only expecting 1. But yeah, he had 2, and yeah, I couldn't knock out the second one. And the second game, we didn't have too much time left, and he got a good setup, and then I just scooped because like no point in playing it. And fourth round, I played against Brian with Picarom, and he played the Sigilip, which was actually super annoying to deal with for my deck because I didn't play custom catches, played Super Screw Up instead, which I think was fine, but against Sigilip was annoying. And I don't know, I also probably didn't play the matchup well.
That deck is also a lot of fun to play.
I don't know, like I think in the first game he did like I attacked with Latios mostly, but then he did custom catcher on a Mewtwo on the bench and tag bolt with did like 260 and tag bolt the other. Yeah, he did damage with Zero Aura, and then he custom catcher the different one, finished the one that had damage and did 260 on the other one. Then I know I didn't hit a scoop up, and he could just win off that. And in the second game, like I was behind again. Don't remember exactly, but I think he just finished the game with 0 aura and 4 electro powers. Like he just one KO'd my mute. Yeah, I think he didn't need to hit it. He probably would have won anyway, but he just me with quad electro power.
Was it all 4 at the same time? Of just kind of like.
He just won a KO with a quad electro power turn.
Nice.
That's a sign of a good player. That's just.
Beast Rings and Electro Powers. They only come in 4. You can never play 1 or 2 at a time. It's always 4.
So at that point, I was like 1-1. I felt like I was playing pretty bad. I mean, I wouldn't say I was regretting my deck choice, but I was also not happy with having switched off Rishizard. But yeah, afterwards, it started to go a lot better when I played against Aaron from Australia with Malama. So at first I was not worried. Like Malama is a fine matchup, especially with scoop ups, and I was pretty confident against Malama. But turned out he played double power plant, which makes the matchup actually super unfavorable because he can just draw power plant, one KO me with his Giratina. But he drew just bad enough for me to win anyway. Like game one, I was like up by 3 prizes, and then in the end it was super close. I won by uh, by 1 prize, I think. Like SP on the Oxus was really good in both of the games that I won. Like second games, I got destroyed by power plant, like just power plant KO, and I could basically scoop. And third game, yeah, I used SP on the Oxus, like two of his in case, I think, and he was left without any Malama and scoops. So yeah, but if he drew well and got out enough Malamas, I would probably have lost that. But
I mean, that's the truth against any Manamar player, right? if they draw well and they get the Manamars, it's a good deck.
yeah, if they play power plants, well,
Yeah.
without power plant, it's still fine from you too.
Yeah. In fact, so one of the cards that came up a few times there was the Super Scoops, because I know both of you wound up playing it. Because, I mean, what the gist of it, as far as I could work out, was there's just no good heal. There's no Acerola anymore. There's no AZ. And I think you both wound up playing it, right? If I just will check the lists.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So how did that like pan out over the course of the weekend?
I think Super Screw-Up has treated me well overall. It's just a really good healing card, the best we have right now. Scooping up a Mewtwo with 260 damage or like just feels really good. And it also acted as a switching card.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't play switches, I only played Tate and Liza, and it can be a bit awkward to use turn one. So with the scoop ups, I had like it was an additional out to get something good into the active spot turn one. It was mainly a healing card, and it could also reuse the Dennis sometimes, which is also nice. Like
Mm-hmm.
it just has a lot of utility overall, and I think I probably flipped more than 50% heads on it in this tournament.
High
So
roll.
one game, I think it could have won me if I hit a head in on the last scoop up, but I flipped tails. But yeah, still overall, I flipped. I can't complain about my flips, I think.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, I think scoop up was good. I felt like the deck doesn't really need the custom catchers because it already has a lot of bench control with Naganadel and Espeon Deoxys.
Mm-hmm.
And the scoop ups just like one heal can already win you the game. It felt like it would be worth it, and I mean, I was happy with the list. Like, not sure if I would switch to a version like the one Henry played, which is more welder focused and has the custom catchers, like just more aggressive overall. But I was honestly happy with my list. It was like a lot of the games I lost, I felt like I just could have played it better. The one thing I really missed was the second Marshadow because I literally played against decks with power plant 6 out of 7 rounds. So
Yikes.
So crazy.
the Marshadow felt like MVP. It was yeah. I wished I had a second one.
So going forward, you'd be making a cut for a second Marshadow. If you
I'm not
expect to
sure.
have another
I mean,
format with that much power plant.
power plant isn't usually that popular, I think. There's a lot of Rishiza which doesn't play it. There's Pikachu with that which doesn't play it. I just happen to play against Pidgeotto controls and against Malama with with power plant, I played against two Reshi Greens, which obviously both play power plant. So I'm not sure. I think usually one Marshadow is fine, but if you want to be more safe against power plant, second Marshadow would be nice. So speaking of power plant, then the round after, I played against Stefan with Guardian and 4 power plant in his deck. So I was honestly not sure what to expect of a matchup. Was planning to just use Latios and Tech Purge because Gardevoir obviously very tag team based, but he played the one of Xerneas GX, which makes the Latios strategy not as effective as it could be. So I actually ended up using much more of a Solgaleo Dragonite thing and just one killed his things.
I mean, there's two ways, right? You can lock them out, or you can just take your prize cards before they do.
Yeah.
And that was always going to happen because the card's quite slow.
Yeah, I think I lost the first game. Like I don't remember the games anymore, but power plant is annoying, and the threat of the GX attack is annoying. Like, you could use Latios and flip the GX counters, but then you can't use Double Blaze anymore, which can mana KO a Gardevoir even if it has a Choice Helmet or a Fairy Charm Psychic, which I think he played both. So yeah, I thought the matchup would be much easier than it turned out to be. It was, I ended up barely winning the third game. Like this match was actually the only game that my Turtonator that I played did anything, because it was able to one KO his Psychic Charmed Gardevoir. Like, we put in a Turtonator to have a non-GX option against some decks, and also because it would win random stall matchups like Keldeo or even like Executor, things like that. But the Turtonator turned out being not very useful. It would have been much better as a second Marshadow, but that's just maybe because of the decks I played against. I don't know.
Sure.
Anyways, I think he could have won the third game if he hit a double custom counter in the end, but his hand was just completely dead. Like at some point he stopped drawing supporters, and then I barely won the game. Was very close, and yeah, I didn't expect it to be that hard, but the deck plays for power plant and can shuffle away your hand, so yeah, was pretty scary in the end. So
yeah, that's one of the decks that I think can exploit some of the cards that you would want to tech for other matchups anyway, better than some of the others, right? Like the fact that it can play the power plant and just not lose on anything. It can put you down to 0-card hands. It has greens as its engine. Like it has a lot of things going for it in that sense.
Yeah. Also, I liked the Xerneas GX thing. Like obviously with Latios you can stop the GX attack, but so it's against other decks it's probably also useful where you can retreat or switch out your Gardevoir with damage, and then at some point you put on Xerneas GX, switch into it, tech switch to get the energy on it, and then just use the GX attack and heal all your Gardevoirs and get a big one to kill. Just pretty nice. Anyways, so last round I played against John Eng with Green Start, and this time it went pretty smoothly overall. I think I just used like Latios. I think in the first game I didn't get the Latios GX attack in time, and he was able to double blaze one of my Mewtwo's, but when I just took down I think one Charizard with normally, and then Dragonited the second one, and it felt like I was in control for most of the game. Like he only played 2 power plants. I think in the end it came down if whether he had third power plant, but he only played 2 apparently. So with third one, he could have locked me out of the game because I had to discard 1 giant half early, and I think I was out of stadiums, but he didn't have a power plant, so I won. And second game, I think I just got turn 1 Latios and then tag purged all game. And yeah. And so I actually won out the last 3 rounds and made top 32, which was cool. I didn't expect it after round 4, but yeah, really happy with it.
Placing in the top 32 of the best of the best is pretty good. And it sounds like it was an interesting run with the they hadn't tested. It feels like a little bit like you kind of had to work out some of the plans and like as you went a little bit. But top 32 is good. But for the first time in, I don't know, how many times have you been to Worlds now, Tord?
Me?
Yeah.
This was my 9th try at Worlds.
So as good as top 32 is, after 9 attempts at trying, Tord, you made top 4.
Yes. That was pretty cool.
Pretty huge achievement, especially for being a retired player who took the season off because he wanted to focus on school. Top 4 at World, easy.
So my trip to day 2 even was kind of lucky because in Brazil I was originally 9th, but after DQ I ended up 8th, so I got some extra points from there. And I was ended up 32nd in Sweden with only top 32 getting points at all. Yep. And with these and like some kept victories in the last couple of weeks before Worlds, I managed to squeak into 21st seed at the European rankings. So I could get my day 2 invite. So I felt I was really lucky just being able to skip day 1 at all this year. And but it definitely felt great. So yeah, I did end up sticking with the Jar 9-tailed deck that we had tested a lot. But the day before, I was definitely not sure. So talking to Robin, actually wanted to play Muta instead, and talking to Philip, and he said, you should just play Pika's deck. It's the only real deck. Everything else is just random stuff. And yeah, so I was kind of freaking out the day before because this was is a big deal for me as the only tournament I haven't been able to do really good at. So like I always just been really nervous at those and always really wanted to do well. So even with all the testing in just one deck, I still was ready to like throw it away and play whatever if it could give me better odds of having a chance of doing good. But in the end, I chose to stick with it purely because it was the deck I had tested and I knew all the matchups. So I was thinking that even if it wasn't the best deck, it would be the best deck for me because that was the deck I knew and knew how to play. So ended up sticking with it, and of course now I'm really happy with it. I can do my Worlds recap. I actually wrote it down as well.
Yeah, give us a rundown.
So round 1, I was playing against Gengar tag team with Omastar from Philip Pesevsky.
Yeah, yes. I know that deck. Yeah.
So that was definitely not the first archetype I was expecting to face going into this tournament, but here we were. So yeah, he just flipped his Gengar, and I heard some rumors before the match started playing. So okay, flipped his Gengar and benched the fossil, and yeah, we were off. Game 1, I was feeling I had like decent control on it until he suddenly drops down triple surprise box on me to take his last KO, and I was just not ready for that. Surprise box, for those that don't know, puts a card from opponent's discard pile into their hand. So he played a full playset of this and slammed 3 down of me at the same time to get me 3 more trainers, so he did 150 more damage. And then he managed to steal the game that way. So just shuffling up for game 2 with not a lot of time left, but was thinking, this could be fine. And I go first. I have a great start. I have a decent start. I had to welder to the Dene and attach to Hirachi or something. But I already scouted my deck with my Stadium and saw that Heatran was in there. So I was thinking that I could surprise him. He might not know what Heatran does, right? So I actually ended up opening Gengar, attaching and using greens, but he did not GX and he did not bench anything. So I knew he had options to bench something and GX, stop me, but he did neither. So next turn I went Welder again, attach, bench Heatran, promote Heatran, GX for 300 game. So that felt pretty good because now I certainly had time to finish this, being able to game him like that. And third game, he was even-ish, but I got another great start. It was turn 2, 300 Ninetales smack for my prizes. And then his following turn, he got a double prize penalty because he used Coach Training with a Fossil in the active. And that only draws 2 cards, but he drew 4. And that kind of sealed off the game because now he had to discard all, only stay in with the Gengar.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I got a single prize now, I would win. And yeah, I ended up getting the Heatran for 300 on the follow-up anyway, so didn't really matter. But yeah. But I was kind of happy, losing the first game and then coming back. I felt like it could be possible for me to do well that day, even though the first matchup was kind of weird.
Just a little bit weird.
Yes. So now it's round 2, and Pokemon decided that it's time to put the tournament stream again. I was playing against some Japanese guy. I don't think I heard about him before, but at least he was playing Malamar. And I was playing Malamar Ultra Necrozma, actually. And the game was streamed. You can watch it there. But I had some great starts all 3 games, honestly. Game 1, I do turn 1 400 to his Hirachi, and he skips the following turn because he doesn't have anything. He only had Hirachi Ultra Necrozma and didn't even play supporter turn 1. And
that was the biggest knockout
second game
that weekend. That was
yeah. And second game, I was also in firm control of the game. I was 3 prizes up. I was thinking, yeah, this is fine. But then he goes for the Hypnosis with Inky, and I flip Tails over to my turn. I with the attack. I flip Tails back to his turn. He hits me with Giratina. And then I flip Tails back to my turn again, so I can still not attack. So his Giratina finishes my Heatran, and suddenly he's kind of back in it. I still feel like I should have won. And then I do a blunder where I attack with my Victini instead of my Charizard. If I go with Charizard, he has no way to one-shot it. But I was afraid of running out of energies because I didn't have too many left. Still, I went in with it anyway, though. I was also forgetting that I couldn't use Ninetales under Gengar GX attack, which was kind of stupid. But it prevents you from playing cards from hand, but you can still use abilities or supporters, stadiums and stuff. So I could have done that, and if I remember that, I would have gone in with Charizard instead of the Victini, and then I would have locked up the game. So he ends up using the Gengar tag team attack, and then next turn double custom catching and knocking out the tag team after knocking out my Victini. So I'm losing that game and kind of sad fashion, and the third game was nowhere near close to finishing, but I would have had full control over that game as well, though. I was a couple prizes up. He had no attackers and one Malamar, one Irachi in the field, I think. So should probably have had that game too. But yeah, I ended with a tie, so it was 1-1. Round 3, I play against Michael Pramowat. He was also playing the Pichotto, so this was like my first meeting with it. And we also only played one game. My start wasn't too great, and
You may have cut out there for a second.
Oh,
Towards
yeah.
the end.
Thought you muted.
Did he hit a button?
I don't know. He's talking?
He-
But I'm
He's
not
making
hearing
faces.
anything.
Nope. Yeah, we just rejoin the call. The video's going to look very
Yeah.
strange.
Okay, you're back.
okay, I lost connection somehow. How far did I get?
You had just said you're about to take on the Pidgeotto control. Michael Pramowat.
All right, perfect. We'll continue from there. Okay, so I'm playing against Prime, right? And wait, I lost you again?
No.
No,
Okay.
we're here.
Perfect. Okay, I'm playing against Prime, and he was flipping the Pidgey, so I was kind of just figuring it was the same deck as Jimmy played on stream, and like would be the same combo as we were thinking about back then. So my goal was to knock out all these Pichottos swiftly with Ninetales, and only using Heatran and Victini if possible. So that's basically what I did. Got kind of a decent start with Welder on my Heatran and everything, but Prime flipped double heads on Crushing Hammer his next turn. So, and I whiffed Welder the following turn. So I was thinking I couldn't attack, but that was not true because I could have GX attack his Garafari. I just completely forgot that Heatran does 100 for 2 for some reason. So I ended up passing with my Heatran in the active. And I was so embarrassed because Prime was like holding his cards like this, about to discard him when I said pass. And I realized at the same time, like, oh man, I could have knocked it out, right? Oh, but I was just saying pass, rolling with it, and be like, I need my GX attack or something, right? Trying to fake that. So to not be too embarrassed. But yeah, I was then one prize further behind than I should have been. But in the end, I managed to just knock out Puchotas over and over, and he could never really get the full combo going. I was also like kind of lucky with how I drew into my stadiums and my energies. So I managed to just spam energies on board, use Victini, and forced him into using Articuno early, so that also made me feel a lot safer for the late game because he would need a lot of Crushing Hammerheads as well to like maintain the luck completely. So yeah, I managed to come by, and after using like a big Victini to shuffle all my energies in, I was like 2 prices, and he was pretty much locked out of the game from there. He could still get like a crazy combo going though, but he would need a lot, and he was really struggling with getting his Puchotto knocked out every turn. So I ended up winning the game, and I don't know how much time is left, 20 minutes, 15 minutes or so, but Prime decided he didn't want to play a second game and just backed up and left it at that. So I won that series 1-0. And round 4, I'm facing Malamar. And I have a decent game 1. And he whiffs the turn to attack, I think. And that's basically game already, because you just win the price trade from there while trading evenly. And then I would be like 2 prices ahead going in with Heatran. And the second game, like time is time is nearing, but the game is still gonna finish. So I'm just trying to get the win in the second game as well. It was like kind of tricky, but somewhere mid game in this game, he goes also and flips over another card, so he also gets another double prize penalty against me. So now I played like 4 rounds, and half my opponents have gotten double prize penalty against me, and it was just unfortunate for them. But yeah, I will take those. And that ended up in me being able to knock out one less Pokemon per game. So I was at 4, and he had only single prizers on his field and a tag team. So instead of trying to go for one of these single prizers first, I just sat down and waited for him to promote his tag team because he didn't really have any other attacker on the field. So if I didn't knock out anything, he would be forced to promote it himself, and then I could knock it out instead. So that's what ended up happening, and I did like 280 with Victini for game. That was kind of cool. And
it's one of those cases of doing well at tournaments consistently shows a good player, but sometimes to spike a tournament and really push it like particularly far, you do need a little bit of luck.
Yes, definitely. And especially while I'm usually playing really nervous and making a lot of micro decision mistakes at Worlds, especially. And having this kind of luck here really like helped me to push through, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was really great and lucky for me. Next round is also Malamar. This is like my third Malamar so far. And this series was probably the freest I ever had, because I never seen anyone brick so hard before. I was literally open Inky, not even hand attachment, say go. And I was like, okay, cool. I open, of course, Heatran 6 Fire Energy, top deck Super Scoop Up. So my turn wasn't really eventful either. So I attach and says go again. He top takes a treasure, so he searches for Giratina, benches it, and passes back. I attach again, I GX, take a prize, and he goes. He top takes a card and passes an Inky, or like benches an Inky and passes back. I draw. I still only have like Super Scoop Ups and Fire Energy, that's all I'm drawing. So I just continue attaching to my Heatran, taking knockouts, and yeah. Eventually, like, tries to loop his Giratina to not like being benched out, but like the game is over a long time ago. So yeah, the second game, he does the same thing, except I think I get the turn 1 dunk this time. So it was like no like long drawn out suffering, at least. It was just boom over already. But yeah, that was a really weird way to advance to 401. So I was really happy though. Even with not having a real fight for the game, I was really happy with my score. And I was now playing my winning for top 8, because if I won the next one, I could ID last round and for sure be in and have no like bowl shenanigans anymore. So round 6, I'm playing against this Japanese guy, and I was just praying he was playing Gardevoir, and sure enough, he was playing Gardevoir. So I remember my draws against him were actually crazy. So imagine like the best possible start, 2 games in a row, where I just go Ninetales, 600, and Jirachi, skateboard, everything on him. And I was feeling really great. Game ended up kind of weird though, because he power planted me, and I was kind of stuck for a couple of turns in the late game. Late game being like turn 2, like turn 3, 4, 5 or something. We just had to like sacrifice some Mirachis and try to get my stadium going, because I was missing like an energy for my follow-up attacker. Eventually, I got it. It took me way too long though. I had like 15 cards in deck and used double Rachi a turn for like 3 turns and couldn't find one of my 3 stadiums. And but eventually I found it and could power up my thing and win. The second game, he draws his hand and then sighs really loud. He had opened his one Cernias in deck, and that is just horrible for him. If you open Cernias, you have to use your greens for switch and Gardevoir instead. And you don't even get your second Gardevoir to like attach to with your attack. And that's really important because you can't tag switch from Cernias. So Cernias roots up the whole flow of the deck because you have to spend your first couple turns just recovering from opening the wrong Pokemon. And this game was kind of exciting for me because I, again, of course, got my double welder 300 thing, but I didn't have the retreat yet. But I had a couple scoop ups in hand. So if I could roll aheads, I could switch out and just out this Gardevoir that he finally managed to set up using both his turns for greens and stuff to get something going. I flip heads, get the knockout, and the game was basically over from there. He ended up tanking with the Gardevoir for a turn. I didn't have a Ninetales in play. And then he GX'd with Cernias, move all the damage over. I retreated into Urachi, benched the Vulpix. And because Gardevoir only has to 60 HP. So after I did 230, he moved it over. And if I could do the outrage on a Gardevoir, I would actually just win. So just retreat to Urachi, bench the Vulpix, and set up for like Ninetales on the following turn. I was expecting to get Custom Catcher that turn, but he used greens and didn't pick them up. So I don't really know what that was about. And following turn, I just went outrage for game. So that felt really great. So now I could just ID my last round for top 8. I was playing against Kaiv and Kaveh with Pigazek, but yeah, we for sure just ID'd, so it wasn't really a problem there.
Yep. And we'll just take a quick break there just to kind of run through the rest of the top 8, because before we go into what happened to you in top 8, we'll just take a quick break to kind of run through who made it, because top 8 was composed of Shintaro world champion, dear me, from a couple of years ago. Isaiah Williams, who was playing the Bird Control or the Pidgeotto Control deck. Blaine Hill, Ryota Ishiyama, Henry Brand, Kyron Kababe, and then Tord. And he was listed on the website as by Pokemon as Pacosaurus, but what was I think on Limitless he has his other name, right, Robin?
Yeah, his real name.
Yeah.
But the legend about Pacusaurus, oh my god.
Yeah, he's not actually a Saurus.
Oh.
No, but the name is so good. But
really good.
So I'll run through the part of the top 4 that for top 8 up until Tord's game, and then you can talk about this and your top 4 match. So Shintaro beat Isaiah Williams with Cephalon beating the Bird Control. Blaine Hill won against Ryota Ishiyama with Green's Rescue Zard. Henry Brandt beat his fellow Australian Mewtwo and Mew over the Pika ROM. And Tord, how did your top 8 go?
So I was playing against Pacusaurus. He was playing Charizard Greens. So I was thinking matchup should be fine. In our initial testing, we kind of discarded the Charizard Greens deck as fake hype and that no one would actually play it because it just felt so slow to us and couldn't imagine like trying to not play Welder every turn. Just being satisfied with using greens for a turn didn't seem correct, but we were underestimating the deck for sure. But was still kind of favored for us, I feel, playing the Charizard Ninetales deck at least. So the first game, I get another marvelous start. I get to go first, and I get double welder, Charizard 6 energy, 9 tails, 300 on his Charizard. So that's almost game winning already. But since he plays Stamp and Power Plant, he can still manage to like steal the game by trying to brick me and preventing me from charging up next attacker. The only bad thing about my huge power play here was that I didn't have too many energies left, so I was kind of forced to find Victini at some point. So next turn, I just played very conservative, just attached to my Turtonator and knocked this Volcanion. And I was still not stamped. I still had my hand intact. So the turn after again, my field was full, but I had 3 scoop up in hand. So I managed to flip heads on a Dedenne, so I could go into Victini and take another knockout that way. Getting all my energies back, and it was he benched 3 Volcanion for some reason. So I knocked out 1 Charizard, 2 Volcanions at this point, with another one on the board. Benched that many Volcanions, or just gone for Pokemon Charizard instead. But since he did indeed bench them, I just went this route instead. And sorry, you hear me, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. You stopped for a moment there. I was worried. And
All good.
Yo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're all good.
Okay. Sorry. I don't know.
We've slightly
Kinda...
lost Joel's video, which now ends. Yeah. There we go.
Okay. So, yeah, I ended up winning the first game after a Victini attack, because my deck was stacked with energies, and all I really needed next turn was some energies anyway. And yeah, second game, I can't really remember too much out of, but I remember it being kind of close, and I whiffed 9 tails. I had like another pretty good start, like a good start, great start, but I whiffed the 9 tails, so I can knock out his Charizard, and that kind of put me on the back foot. I ended up losing the game, even though I was a turn ahead. I had no real attacker to finish the game with. So I had like one turn where I in theory could win, but I had like nothing on the board that would actually win me the game. That gave him 1 extra turn to like welder to his Charizard. Like he had no energy on field, and then manual attach next turn, and then greens for the custom captures for game. So wasn't too much time left at this point. And I know I was taking a lot of time as well, just because I was really tired. Playing my second game on stream for the day, and had a lot of like long games throughout the tournament as well. So I was just really tired and nervous and struggled to focus. So anyway, the timer was running low, and that was not too great for me, because that created a situation in the third game where I could definitely lose, even with another great start and going first, and him not having like any energy on his Charizard on his first turn. So I think it ended up being time on my turn when there's still no prize cards taken. I believe it was the second turn. So I had the 6 energy Charizard. I had everything, and he had 2 Volcanions with 2 energy each, I think. That was like the board state. So I didn't really want to attack with Charizard this turn. I rather attack with Heatran. But I did a big blunder by thinking that my Charizard with 6 energies was actually taking up 2 burn spaces for some reason. Like I thought my bench was full because I had it like all spread out. And the Charizard was just so fat with his 6 energies that I had like no more space. So I treated my Irachi into Charizard. Like I rather go Heatran, but obviously I flipped tails on my scoop up, so I couldn't, right? And after promoting the big boy Charizard, I realized that my bench had 4 Pokemon. I asked the judge what happened. This was full, right? Oh, no, that was always 4. I was really flustered, so I ended up trying to correct my mistake by then going for Heatran and using Switch out of the active again, and then attacking with Heatran. Because the problem with attacking with Charizard here is that he could attack for 110 with his Heatran. It will require some specific cards from him though, but in theory he could attack with his Heatran for 110, and then next turn he could drop his Charizard down on the field, custom catcher of my Charizard, and then knock it out for game.
Mm-hmm.
He would be the last turn of this like exchange of turns, and then he would be 1 price up to my 2, and I could not do anything about it because I didn't play stamp or anything. But if I gave him the Heatran, he would at best case tie me in prices, and then I could just take another price on my next turn again to win the game. So I wanted to like fix up my mistake by using Switch into Heatran, so I could attack with this thing instead. The problem now was that I didn't have any Switch in hand. So if he just bench Charizard and Welder and did not attack, I would actually be in kind of big trouble, because then he could next turn again custom capture my Charizard and knock it out, and would be at like the same position again. So, but what ended up happening was him benching Charizard, weldering to it, but instead of passing, he retreated and knocked out my Heatran. So this opened up my Irachi, so I could welder again, and it opened up the Dene. So now I could really dig. Mm-hmm. He also played an Acrobike. He got Power Plant on his last card, and that was really annoying for me because I had like communication Pokemon in hand. Now I knew that Irachi really had to bail me. But then I take the stadium, the good stadium that gave me more fire, and now I could replace his stadium and use the Dene safe. And knowing that all I needed was a welder through the Dene and the Irachi combined, and those odds were really good in my favor. So with the stadium, I could pick up the fire energies no matter what as well. So all I needed now was just the welder from the Dene plus Irachi. So just go with the Dene, or like communication the Dene, and I find the welder fire energies on the first try and don't really have to do any more digging. So that was great. So I just Dened my Charizard and counted 3 times if that was 6 energies, and then I went up and did the attack.
I like how you took the time to double check your count.
Yeah, I was like, this is game, right? I'm in top 4 if I do this attack, correct? Everyone agrees? Okay, let's go. Bum.
It was quite the slow roll.
Definitely was. I had a lot of emotions going through me, so I was just taking my time, making sure I didn't mess up. Also was terrified of overdrawing a card, so giving me a little price penalty, which would also lose me the game. So like with the Dene and stuff, I like triple checked if that was actually 6 card before I drew them, so I wouldn't get the price penalty from that. But yeah, I got the knockout, and there was not really much he could do from there. With how the game played out that way, I would have won anyway, even if the time wasn't out. So it was all good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then there was also top 4. So you played against Shintaro, right? In top 4.
Yes. I actually wanted to play against this guy for years. He's a really good player and always comes up with these innovative new decks. But I did not want to face him at that point. It was really cool. I was top pro vaults and playing against a great player. but I was so exhausted at this point. This would then be my third stream game on the same day. And we had played for 12 hours at this point, and it was 9 p.m. And I just wanted to sleep, honestly. And yeah, so I knew going in I would definitely not play optimal, but I was gonna try my best because there was like no other way around it. They wanted that game on stream, and they wanted it right there and then. So I had to just try my best. I still haven't rewatched the game, but I know that both the games came down to a 50-50 with the way I played it. So the first game, I had a knockout on his Heatran. I think I should have retreated my first turn. I forgot that Heatran could knock out Jirachi for 1 energy. That was a mistake. I shouldn't have let him just knock out the Jirachi for free. But at least with how I played it, I could have played it better, for sure, believe me. But with how I played it, both games came down to 50-50. With the first game, I took a knockout on his Heatran. He can't find any single beast ring, so he can't knock me out back. I think he priced you or something. And I then have a big opportunity to just take the game, right? Because if I get another knockout, beast ring is completely locked out of the question. His attacker then with 2 energies on it is gone, and he basically won't have anything to do anymore. So the game would be really over. And that was a big turn. I know it was really controversial for a lot as well. So I was confused. I was not wanting to go for the coin flip on my attack, even though I could. So instead, I decided to retreat into Jirachi or something. And use Jirachi, found a welder, used the welder, the tree, and I found a super scoop up. And if that super scoop up is heads, I can scoop up the Jirachi and promote Charizard again, and then take the knockout again. So with my line of play, I had the same result because I got 1 flip to be able to attack that turn. And if I flip heads, I just win. I flip the scoop up is tails. So I can't attack, and next turn he finds all his beast rings and continues to go through me. I was also afraid if I attacked with Charizard, like leaving it in the active, that will be 3 easy prizes for him. And then he would only be the Dennis Snipe away from winning, which he could do with Naganadel or double custom catches. So I'll be really easy from, I figured. So if I attacked with him, I would definitely put myself on a turn clock if I lost the coin flip, and that will just mean I lost straight up.
It required it was still a 50-50, but the 50-50 you took needed him to need more, right? Like it was.
Yes,
he had to have everything that way, as opposed to just giving it to him.
Yes, the downside of the play was that I was running low on energy, so I didn't really have enough energy in the end to finish the game. And yeah, that was also like a problem. I think I'm talking about game 2, right? I think it was game 2 I retreated. I kind of mess up these games right now. Those games are all just a mush in my head. But yeah, one of the game ended at least on the super scoop up flip that I flipped tails on. And the other thing that went wrong was that I had a game, a lot of energies in, and I only had 1 energy left after my last attack with the Turtonator. So I needed 2 out of the 4 of my prize cards to find the energy. So like you draw 2 out of 4, you have a 50-50 of finding like a specific of one. And if I find the fire energy, I'll be able to attack with Victini after. And then I would have enough resources to win the game, or straight up win the game if he passes with the GX inactive. But I did not find the Victini this time either. No, I did not find the Fire Energy this time to attack with Victini. So I was basically all out of win conditions after doing the Turtonator knockout. So I was sitting there. I knew I had one energy left. I knew nothing of my Pokemon could attack with one energy. And yeah, I just knew I was dead. So I couldn't really do anything. But I don't know. I kind of didn't want to scoop for some reason. I just sat there and let him take his last few prizes. And yeah, that was it.
Enjoy
then
the experience a bit
I was
longer,
out.
right?
Yeah,
Yep.
was okay.
Then, meanwhile, Henry Brand won his top 4 game, setting up the Shintaro versus Henry final, in which it looked early on that Shintaro had the edge, but in one game, Henry then basically managed to come back and take the series, becoming the first world champion from the Oceania region. And it was, I think, it was a really cool tournament. Also, really cool to see him take the win. Kind of, it's one of those regions where it's quite easy to, being on the other, literally on the other side of the world. We don't necessarily hear about some of their tournament results. Like, we can check them, we don't get to hear about them as much. We don't necessarily get to know who the big name players are in that region.
True.
And to see them really, like, 2 top 8 from Oceania this year, and then taking the whole tournament is a really cool thing to see. But yeah, that was a very interesting recap, and I believe there's also going to be a write-up of this, right? That you're working on at the minute.
Yes, I'm also writing an article. I decided it will be like a full article. I'll go through pretty much all the big tournaments of my life. Like, gonna do a big article. Gonna be great.
This is going to be
And
big.
I will end it up with the Worlds recap. So if you're not interested in the rest, you can just skip everything and just read the Worlds recap. That will also be in there for sure.
Cool. Okay, awesome. So let's just take a little quick look at the breakdown of the format for the World Championships this year. It was, I think, more or less as expected, at least for most people, right? We had, so the top 3 decks that I think everyone kind of had on their radar going in were the Pikaroms, the Rashizards, and the Malamars. The exact version of a Malamar is still somewhat up for debate. If you want to play the non-GX, or if you think the Ultra Mali is the way to go, or if you want to be playing the Garchomp Giratina build, like, there's arguments for all of them. I prefer the non-GX personally, but also I prefer not bricking every game. Then the Mew Box decks coming in. The biggest surprise, I think, for most people would have been the Gardevoir Sylveon, and then the Oranguru based stall decks. Do we think that this is an accurate representation of where the format is at? Do we think that the breakdown was where we think the power, do we think that this is representative of the most powerful decks, or is it a little bit of people playing it safe for some people, but also trying to take high risk, high reward decks as well because they want to just win the whole thing?
I mean, it doesn't seem too surprising, to be honest.
Yeah, seems like a pretty accurate representation of the meta. I mean, it was the best players in the world, and I think almost everyone there tested a lot, and they were confident in their deck choice for some reasons. And yeah, I think we will definitely still see a lot of Pikarom. Deck is just really good for the moment. We might see a bit more Rishizard than before, because now the abilities art is I believe it will be might be more popular than the greens version going forward, but I'm not sure. Malamar might drop a bit because it did quite bad, but then again, if people stop taking Hoopas and Lysander Labs, it will become much better again, so I would expect Malamar to stick around. It's still a really good deck. Like, people say it's too inconsistent or something, but I think it's okay. I think the main problem was just too many hoopers.
Sure.
And
I mean, there was a lot of articles about the metagame, or like what people expected the metagame to be for Worlds, and it more or less turned out correct. But I think that people were giving up over teching for matchups, as opposed to just trying to be consistent. The mana builds. But okay, so the next major tournament that we have coming up in Europe, at least, is in a couple of weeks in Sheffield. How do we think, or do we think this? Like, if we were to make the same thing of this for Sheffield, do we think it would look similar? Do we think there's going to be any big kind of changes? Do we think any of these are going to go up or down in popularity? Like, I'm pretty sure like the kind of
honestly,
the
not
Spiritomb and a lot of the non-GX is going to drop off.
yeah, there's
But
the one of or two of decks would probably not be played much, but then again, I don't know, might be. I would expect it to stay roughly the same with tag teams, Pikachu, Charizard, and Mewtwo dominating, then a bit less Mala than at Worlds, but still a decent amount. Probably like same amount of Malama and Blacephalon. I'm not quite sure about Gardevoir. It's really good, but it might struggle a bit with ability Zard, so I'm not sure if people will continue to be playing it a lot. But it, like I said, it's really good, and we underestimated it. It should still see play. So for Sheffield, with the release of Jesse and James, might change a bit, but I don't know if that card is really as impactful as some people think it will be. It's pretty good and probably can be played in some crazier decks, but I wouldn't expect it to completely change the meta.
Yeah, I was thinking that first as well, but after thinking more about it, I don't think it will warp up the meta that much. And yeah, this will still be mostly the same play decks.
So we expect a very stable format going forward. At least
I do know.
At least for Sheffield.
I do know Europeans love mill decks though. A lot of people here are a big fan, trying to be super ahead of the meta playing mill. But the problem is that like half of them are, so you can just expect a lot of mill with the release of Mr. James, at least in Europe. But
maybe
yeah,
more.
I would at least try to find a way to have an answer to it.
Yeah, it's one of those things of mill only ever does well if no one expects mill. Twofold, because if people expect it, they'll bring counters and like ways to beat mill, but there'll also just be a lot of ties because I've sat through and played some mill mirrors and they are nothing happens. You just sit there going, oh great, right, well we can go for lunch now.
I think the stall decks mostly do well when there's a lot of tier 1 decks that don't have access to them, which in this format there's Ability Zard with Turtonator, which basically has an answer to every possible stall thing, probably. So I'm not sure how good Keldeo or stuff like that will be, but something like a control deck, like the Pidgeotto thing, that's like that one has the answers and is not really demanding the answers. So I could see that being really good.
Yeah, I can see like the Pidgeotto archetype be a lot more played. That was probably the biggest change of this chart.
Yeah, I think it's one of those ones though where it's not an easy deck to play, right? It's one of those ones where I think a lot of people will very quickly discard it because there's just a lot of decision making and
hard to play and hard to play against as well.
Yeah. So I think it's one of those ones where I think it'll increase, but not massively so. I think its conversion rate will be quite low.
I don't think it will be played a lot. It's just the kind of deck that only a few people pick up, if at all. Like last season,
Yeah,
we
you gotta be
saw DDG win a lot of tournaments with control decks, especially in expanded with the Toad Zoro control, and still basically no one except for them played it, even though they won like 3 regionals in a row.
It's actually kind of crazy, but yeah.
Yeah. You'd have thought people would have picked up on it, but never mind.
It was a gentleman's agreement. No one plays this, only those, okay? And
Okay, then. Well, in that case, since we are nicely at the hour and a half mark now, we'll take this opportunity to wrap up, I think. So, Tord, as our guest, do you have any particular shout-outs or announcements you want to make?
nah, not really. Shout out to everything and everyone. I love you all. You are all the best.
Cool. Throw it over to you, Robin.
Nah, nothing specific. Just expect a lot more from Limitless in the upcoming season.
And hopefully with more frames than I currently have. But I'm going to give a quick shout out to someone who helped get all this kind of working. He runs a podcast called Coin Concede, which is actually a Hearthstone podcast, Ridiculous Hat. And when trying to set all this up, I've been shooting him a load of messages, and he's been super helpful. So just as a shout out and a big thanks to him. So for everyone who has tuned in, either in audio form or in the VOD now, as opposed to the live stream, hopefully I can find a way of getting internet that isn't from the dark ages, and we can catch this streamed live at Limitless_TCG on Twitch next week. If not, keep an eye out on our iTunes, Spotify, and SoundCloud, as well as our YouTube for future episodes, and we will see you all next time. Bye.